In my years of project work, I have consistently found one area that has a dramatic impact on the success of a project team, yet so few organizations spend any time on it at all, and that is alignment and optimization of team resources. But how can you tell if your organization and project team suffer from misalignment and lack optimization of resources? What are the symptoms? Well, certainly projects that go over budget and run behind schedule could be an indication, but that could be caused by many other things. But if you struggle to understand who is responsible for what, who can make what decisions, who is affected by those decisions, why is there so much conflict, or why you can't seem to hold anyone accountable, then you struggle with a lack of team alignment and optimization. Proper team alignment, we can reduce losses associated with rework, conflict, and miscommunication while realizing increased value through innovation, employee engagement, and the ability to manage more complex projects. You are able to put the pieces of the puzzle together more efficiently and more effectively, thus driving your organization to achievement of its project and organizational goals. On any project, we have a defined scope of work. This image represents a project I worked on several years ago, where we were increasing the throughput capacity of a gasoline and diesel fuel loading facility. Much of my background has been on engineering and construction projects, such as this. But these principles hold true for any type of project, so I simply use this graphic to represent any scope of work. In order to complete the scope of work, we will have to allocate team resources to the project, but many organizations struggle with proper allocation of resources. And there are three common errors organizations make, all of which result in losses and introduction of significant risk to the project's overall success. The first mistake is underallocation of resources. In this case, organizations underestimate the level of effort required to be successful and don't assign enough team members to the project or allocate enough time to the team members to complete the work necessary to drive project success. As a result, many areas of scope are not addressed as team members prioritize their time, causing significant delays in the completion of tasks and deliverables required for proper project execution. If management pushes back and insists that timelines must be met, then the team will cut corners, skip steps, or simply not complete required tasks and deliverables. This approach results in significant loss of value realization through poor quality, errors and omissions, as well as potential for staff turnover. Losses will far exceed any potential savings that may have been assumed through understaffing. The other end of the spectrum is over-allocation of resources. We simply assign too many people to the project. This approach is usually done in a haphazard manner with no clear understanding of the division of responsibility or integration and alignment of resources. And although this approach typically will result in better scope coverage, its haphazard implementation still leaves gaps in our scope that will result in loss of value. This overallocation and lack of alignment of resources then introduces another significant challenge. Areas of overlapping or unclear responsibilities will become sources of conflict on the project team. That conflict distracts resources from doing the work that needs to be done and can cause team members to lose focus on the objective of the project, resulting in reduced quality and productivity. And your project manager ends up spending much of their time managing conflict rather than managing the project. And even when organizations get the number of resources right, they often lack the alignment required to drive efficient workflow and seamless integration. You still get gaps in the required tasks and deliverables to complete the scope, and you still get high degrees of overlap and conflict. At Mesh, we have developed a process to optimize the required resources and better align them to ensure complete coverage of all project scope, while reducing or eliminating overlap to drive improved ownership and accountability. Our 5-step process to drive resource optimization and alignment starts by getting clarity on the tasks and deliverables required to complete the scope of work. We then conduct workshops where we educate the team and stakeholder groups on what responsibility is, why it's important to assign responsibility to only one person, and what it means to be accountable. The third step uses responsibility matrices to achieve alignment among the team members and stakeholders, identifying who is responsible for what and who will support the responsible team member in its completion. Fourth, we get clarity on which stakeholders we are accountable to for each deliverable and task. This crucial step identifies who our customers are, which will later drive clarity on stakeholder expectations. Finally, we use the responsibility matrix to gain commitment to the plan by all team members as well as all stakeholders. This holistic approach not only adds significant value by reducing losses associated with gaps in scope and conflict among team members and stakeholders, but drives higher levels of project success through improved customer satisfaction, innovation, accountability, and employee engagement. If you're interested in discussing how MESH can help your project teams and your organization do more with less, please contact us today to set up a free initial consultation. Because at MESH, our success depends on your success.